And that is where we're going to start now. If you didn't see it, it was a great moment last night at Madison Square Garden. And let's just keep it real. A lot of the best moments in recent memory that have been at the Garden, Rob, have been other players. It's been Trae Young going off on the Knicks. It's been Reggie Miller coming back against the Knicks. Michael Jordan, some of his special
I covered
nights.
that game,
LeBron
Chris,
James,
the Reggie
Kobe.
Miller game.
Yeah, right. Eight points in 18 seconds, was it?
Yep. I saw him push down Greg Anthony.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did for other teams. Not that there haven't been any for the Knicks, but last night was a great one. And Jalen Brunson, who, my goodness, having a tremendous year, will be an all-star for the first time.
Can you say Mark Cuban might have blown it?
Well, we'll get into that. But he led the Knicks to a 109-105 victory over the Indiana Pacers. Jalen Brunson, his father Rick, is on the staff with the Knicks, and I covered Rick when he was a player for the Knicks. And then didn't play much, but he was on the team. And Jalen Brunson goes for 40. And Rob, that was the Knicks' 9th straight win. And they are balling. Now, they've been great since OG Anunoby joined them. Gesundheit. I'm shocked you didn't say that.
I was going to say. I was waiting. Very nice.
But, Rob, they are the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. And obviously, we have to wait and see what the future holds for Joel Embiid this season. But Philadelphia, they've lost 4 straight. Now they've won 1, but they had lost 4 straight with Embiid struggling with the injuries. They're now the 5th seed. And so the Knicks, only a half game behind 2nd seeded Milwaukee, 5 games behind Boston. Like, the question that people in New York are wondering, or, New Yorkers, they're saying they are this. But I want to ask you, Rob, do you think these Knicks are contenders to win the East?
I say no. That's my gut, Chris, because I still think the teams ahead of them are better and have better players. And as you know, in the playoffs, in the NBA, it's not winning one game. And I know they've won 9 in a row, and I'm not knocking them and beating up some competition, whatever. Whoever they beat them. It's 4 out of 7, Chris. That's what separates you in the NBA. Can you beat them 4 times? And I think the Knicks are just below that. I think that they're 5 through 8, not 1 through 4.
I can't disagree.
That's it. I'm not. We're not bashing them.
No. Everyone. I mean, come on. As good as Jalen Brunson is, you don't think of him as the best player on a championship team. All right, Milwaukee's got Giannis and Damian Lillard. And even if you think Brunson is better than Dame at this point, Dame is older. He's in his 13th year. He's still a really good player, great player. But even if you take Brunson over him, I mean, you got Giannis to deal with. And Boston, Tatum, better than anybody on the Knicks. Jaylen Brown, probably better than anybody on the Knicks. But Jaylen Brown's their second guy. And then you got Porzingis and Drew Holiday, who's a champion. Derek White. Like, those teams are better. Now, Philly, obviously Embiid is the best player between the Knicks and the Sixers. Let's assume Embiid's healthy. Tyrese Maxey, you can debate who's better between him and Brunson. But Philly is mentally, they have not proven they're mentally tough enough to win anything. And I think the Knicks are tough. And then you got Miami, which we know is mentally tough. I don't care what they're doing right now. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference.
Because we've seen it, Chris. They've been to the finals twice. Twice in the last 4 years.
I tell you what, Milwaukee don't want to see them in the playoffs. Milwaukee's hoping somebody else beats Miami. I guarantee you that. Here's what I'll say, Rob, about the Knicks as well. They remind me of your typical Tom Thibodeau team. And this is a compliment. Thibodeau I know he's had some rough years here and there, had a few rough years in Minnesota. Everything hasn't gone swimmingly.
It looked like he was going to get fired with the Knicks, Chris,
right?
With that bad year.
Right. But this dude is a good coach. And what his strength is he maximizes under-talented teams. He will get you to play hard. He will get you to defend. And he will get you to play, if he has the right type of players, he will get them to play to the absolute peak of their ability in the regular season. And I won't even say he doesn't do it in the playoffs. The fact is he has under-talented teams, but they look like an elite team in the regular season because he gets them to play harder than everybody else. And Rob, we saw it in Chicago. Remember with Derrick Rose and then a bunch of good but not great players. You had Derrick Rose, then you had Luau Dang, you had Joakim Noah. Really nice players, but pieces. And Rose carried them offensively, and those dudes worked their tails off. And that's what this Knicks team is. When that Rose team got to the playoffs, they had beaten the Heat in the regular season, if I remember correctly, and then LeBron and Wade beat them 4-1 in the playoffs. This is what the Knicks are. I'm not saying and that team got to the conference finals, those Bulls. So the Knicks can have a nice playoff run, but at the end of the day, a more talented team is going to take them out. Whether it's Milwaukee, whether it's Boston, or Miami will be a dog fight because Miami's not the most talented team in the league either. So
if it was one game, could they beat you for one game? Absolutely.
Anything can happen in one game.
If it was one game, could they get to the finals? Absolutely.
A March Madness style thing, sure. But yeah, I mean that, Rob. And look, this, and I said this, Rob. You might remember this about 2 months ago, maybe a month to 2 months ago. Remember I said for the Knicks to win a championship, at least as they're currently constructed, and this was before they got Anunoby, it was like they're going to have to win it like Detroit won it in 2004 or like Seattle won it in 1979, where you're not the most talented. You don't have one transcendent superstar, which most championship teams do. You just got like 3 or 4 really good players, borderline stars, make some all-star teams here.
And on any given night,
coached.
Any given night, one of those guys can beat you.
Right.
And
can be
so
the best.
You're not relying on one guy to beat, right? And number 2, you said well coached, correct. Larry Brown with that 2004 team, Chris, and they played defense. They got stops. They got the loose balls. They got the extra stuff. Like, that is how they were able to beat Kobe and Shaq and all the teams that they beat. They weren't the best team. They weren't.
Right.
Like, I'm talking about talent.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And they what they also do, Rob, they played a slow pace. You mentioned it. They held teams below 70. Well, that was the real Bad Boys.
No. That was the 2004.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
that
the
was
Bad Boys remix, whatever.
No, that was during the Brown era, Chris. 13 straight games under 70.
Rob, these Knicks, 27th in the league in pace, only 30 teams. Defensively, they're 7th. Offensively, they're 7th in terms of rating. So similar. And that's what they're doing. But generally, this is going to sputter out at some point in the playoffs, second, third round of the playoffs. Let me say this, right, because you brought up, did Mark Cuban make a mistake with Jalen Brunson? Absolutely, of course. Because remember, what did Brunson want, Rob G? Was it $50 million? At one point, they wouldn't give him a $50 million, like 4 years, $50 million or something like that. 3 years, $50 million. They could have got him for that. He obviously ended up getting about 100 with the Knicks.
Chris, 4 years, $55.5 million, and they said
about
no.
That. They said
no way, no how. And look at what's going on now.
Look at now. But here's what I'm going to say, Rob. And you know I am a Luka Doncic fan. I think the boy is bad. I've called him Luka Legend since he got in the league. But Rob, I've been beating this drum, and I hope people listen, particularly people in Dallas or in Luka's camp. We didn't know Jalen Brunson had this. We didn't know Jalen Brunson could cook like this. Why didn't we know? Because Luka always had the rock. Jalen Brunson is a dude that needs the ball in his hands so he can do his thing too. And the only time you got to see Jalen Brunson cook was when Luka was on the bench. Or if they happened to be out there together and Jalen had it going, Luka would be just kind of standing watching. That's going to be a problem in Dallas, and it already is. When Kyrie's cooking, Luka's watching, whether he's sitting on the bench or standing on the wing. They've got Luka. I don't know if it's him or if it's the scheme, but he doesn't know how to play without the basketball in his hands, or at least he doesn't do it.
That's not conducive to winning big time, though, Chris.
People are saying he's like James Harden. And
what has that gotten James Harden?
Right. You're a great individual, but no rings. And so the fact that, like, Jalen Brunson wouldn't be doing this in Dallas?
No.
He wouldn't.
Right. I agree with that. But the idea that they passed on him for such a little bit of money, to be honest, NBA standards.
That's a big, huge miss.
Right? That's a swing and miss.
Can you imagine if you had him at that salary?
Right.
What else you could build around
That's a
him?
swing and a miss.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's what we think of the Knicks, Rob.